Did you know that less than 15% of the books published each year by traditional publishers are by people of color? Well, on Girls Talk Books, we uncover the truth about diversity in the publishing industry and celebrate the authors and industry trailblazers who are changing the game, sharing their wisdom, and inspiring the next generation of storytellers. If you are an aspiring author, a publishing professional, or just someone who loves the power of a great story, this is the podcast for you. So grab your notebook, your favorite drink, and get ready to celebrate the power of representation in publishing. This is Girls Talk Books, where your voice matters. Let's go. Have you ever wondered what it takes to turn a passion for storytelling into a full-time career? Well, today we're diving into making writing your business with the incredible Kelly J. Baptiste. Kelly is a powerhouse author whose captivating stories celebrate resilience, joy, and the beauty of diverse voices. From winning the coveted We Need Diverse Books contest to becoming a fan favorite with books like Isaiah Dunn is My Hero, The Swag is in the Socks, and Ebb and Flow, Kelly's journey is nothing short of inspiring. In this episode, we'll explore how Kelly transformed her love for writing from a hobby into a thriving career as a professional author. She's sharing her secrets, struggles, and triumphs to inspire anyone dreaming of making their passion their livelihood. So grab your notebook, settle in, and get ready for an inspiring conversation about turning dreams into reality with Kelly J. Baptiste on Girls Talk Books. All right. So, Kelly, we just started talking. We just started going in because it's such a hot topic right now, talking with women of color in the book industry. But let me do an intro for our audience. Gotcha. I did a quick intro with your bio, but just want to welcome you today. We have Kelly Baptiste, and you're from where originally?
Detroit, born in Detroit, and then we moved to Berrien Springs when I was still young, so about 3 hours away. My father wanted a slower pace. He could kind of see how the city was changing, and he wanted something different for us as we were about to start school. They were thinking about schools and all of that. So I had an uncle who got married in Berrien Springs, out of all places, and so he came and he liked it. And so they stayed, and hey.
Berrien Springs is like, if people don't know where Berrien Springs is,
you don't know, you won't know. I'm gonna tell you that.
Like, where is that? But it's by Benton Harbor, St. Joe area, and Muhammad Ali had his
home in
Berrien Springs. Yep. So that he had his workout place there, and for years that's where he had his home base. So.
Yes, that's our small claim to fame.
Yeah. Right. But you and I met because we're both members of Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI. And there were during COVID, there were a lot of virtual workshops and discussions. And I believe there was one that you were on, and I watched it. I was like, oh my gosh, and she's in Michigan. I was like, that is so cool because, with SCBWI, you have different chapters based in your areas and critique groups. And I actually wanted to start a group. I wanted to join a group that was in Detroit. Because I felt like these are more people of color. They may understand me more. Yeah. But then Debbie Taylor, who's in one of those areas, she said, you know what, Sonia? You need to stay in your area in Kalamazoo because there aren't many diverse writers in your area. And you may bring a different flavor to that audience and to that group and different perspective. And, when you apply for diversity scholarships through SCBWI, they're going based on your chapter. So because I'm like we're one of the few people of color in our chapter, it's easier to receive those type of diversity scholarships for conferences.
Right.
So we see all the amazing work that you have created, but it kind of had a spark. Like there was something that happened that just sparked it, and then everything just took off like wildfire. And I remember one of your interviews, you mentioned that you had a journal and you would keep different ideas in, and you said, I don't even hit girls. You wrote it down or something. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that and then what became of that story.
Okay, so that's Ebb and Flow, which you have right there.
Yes.
And the story is I went to school on Monday morning. I worked at a middle school. And a fight had broken out between a male and female student. I didn't know it at the time. I just heard commotion. The principal went running upstairs. I heard it on my walkie-talkie. So I'm like, okay, let me go back this way because they're going to send the kids down. We're going to have to talk to them, all of this, call the parents. Kind of knew the routine. So they sent the boy down first, and he's loud, he's boisterous, he's still kind of on whatever he was on upstairs. And I'm like, it's okay, calm down. We gotta walk back to the guidance office. You're gonna be all right, chill out. And he was just emotionally upset about the whole thing. And then he just goes, man, I don't even hit girls. And I was just like, huh.
Right, you're like,
I was like, wait a second. And I had my notebook with me at work, because at lunch, I might jot, or anytime something came, a student said something, I'm like, oh, 1 second, let me just steal that. And so I was like, I just wrote those words. Wow. So then I hustle him down to the dean's office. I run and get my notebook. I show the dean. I was like, he just said this. I just wrote that. I got to finish this story. Like, this is one that needs to be told because it's relevant. And it played out after I written it on Saturday. It played out in real life. Wow. And it was a sobering moment for me, but I was just like, okay, this is all the inspiration I need to keep going. Okay.
So then, now, was this your first book? Because you actually in an anthology. Was that before this?
No, that was, this is more recent. So 2023 is when that came out. Okay. This Flying Lessons and Other Stories is the first published work that I have. And I have a short story published in that anthology. Okay. So the story behind that, this is the spark, I think, that you were talking about. Contests. I have always entered contests. I don't know what it is that draws me to them. I think it's probably the hope of winning. But since a teen, I was always entering something, whether it's a scholarship for school, essay contest, poetry contest. I made it a habit of looking for those things and then entering. So I became aware of the We Need Diverse Books short story contest. And that's how I found out about the organization, through the contest. I was like, okay, let me put something together for this. It's my tradition, whatever. And by this time, I'm a grown adult. I had my family. I had all 5 of my kids at that point. And at this point, I was between jobs, so I was home. And my 2 oldest were in school. My 3 youngest were at home, and they were probably, 6 months, 2 and 4-ish, somewhere in there. Okay. So I get down to the deadline day, and I don't know if it was procrastination or whatever it was. It was lifing. I'm at the deadline day, and they actually had a time where you had to email your submission in. It was probably something like 4 p.m. or something like that. So I've got the ticking clock going. I have got to go pick up my kids from school because it's getting to be the afternoon. It's that time. I'm watching the clock. My youngest 2 daughters are just being themselves, running around loud, laughing, all of that. So background noise. Right. And then the baby is in my arms. And so I am literally typing with one hand, trying to figure things out. My computer is glitching. So all of these things built up made me say to myself, you know what? I'm not going to be able to enter this contest. I'm just going to let it go. And I gave up mentally. So I'm just like, and that does not happen. I always point that out when I tell this story. For me, that normally doesn't happen. I might take a break, but there's never me telling myself, just give up. So that's what happened in this point. And at the time, I made a call to their dad who was at work. I don't know why. I was just like, somebody else going to hear about this. Right. Like, this is going wrong. That is going wrong. I'm not going to be able to enter this contest. And in that moment, he was just calm. He was cool. He was just like, try this, try that, restart the computer. The kids will be fine. Just kind of being a voice of reason and a voice of peace into the situation. And so I did what he said. I was able to spell check real quick. I was like, yeah, this is going to have to be good enough. Right. And find a photo. I remember they wanted an author photo. I was like, I don't have any pictures of myself. It's all with these kids. Right. So I'm like, I got to find something, crop them out. Right. Okay. And throw it all together, emailed it, jumped in the car, went to pick up my kids. They're like the last ones out there. So it was just, I'm like on a mission.
Been there.
And they're just like, right. Mom, like, just get in, let's go. Right. We're all good. And because of the stress of that moment, I just forgot about it. I accomplished the goal, got my kids, and we're on with the evening. I forgot about it. Probably about 3 months passed, and I opened my email to see, congratulations, your short story was selected as the winner. And so that is how I got into Flying Lessons and Other Stories. So my first published work, and that was the spark. Okay. That was like, oh, you've been writing all these years, you can be published.
Wow. So that was a spark.
That was the spark. And I was like, oh, it's on now.
Right.
It's on now.
So what was the next step? So you're still working at this point at the middle school.
Yes.
And then, so what Because now our whole focus of this episode is to talk about how you took writing and became a career from
Yes, instead of a side hustle.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So still working the job. We're in pandemic time at this point. And so, yeah, my editor reached out and said, we love Isaiah. Have you considered doing another Isaiah? And I was like, I have thought about it. I have some other things kind of in the works, though. And so I sent in, I think Ready, Set, Dough was finished at that point. Ebb and Flow, I had started writing. And Swag was kind of in a good finishing point as well. So I had multiple things that I was writing just to write, not necessarily for a reason, but things that I could kind of pull out and be like, hey, I have this. And so what started off as a conversation for Isaiah Dunn sequel turned into a 4-book deal.
Oh, wow.
And so that was 2021. So my deadlines, I don't know how this happened. I give glory to God because I don't know how this happened. I really don't, in terms of finishing all of this on a tight deadline, and I was still working.
And you had to have all 5 done for the?
4. It was 4.
4?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And timetables. So Isaiah, the second Isaiah book was written from scratch. I think I had 3-4 months. Wow. Everything else, there was one that was in finished stage, so just polished. There's one halfway done, finished writing. Wow. And I'm looking at my deadlines. I can't tell you how. I can't tell you when.
Wow.
But it happened. And so that's 2021, 2022. We're in August 2022 is when it really started weighing heavy on my spirit. Like, could I do this full time? Wow. And I knew that over life, I was always fascinated by dreamers and people who took risks for their dreams and their passions. Like, I would envy them from a distance. Yes, draw inspiration, but also like, man, how could they do that? How could they do that? Like, it's hard. It's hard. And it takes faith. It takes, it's a risk. And I'm not really a risk taker at all. So this is probably the biggest risk that I've attempted and approached in life. Okay. I'm a planner. And if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Right. So we're not going that way. But it was weighing very heavily on my spirit in that summer. Should I go back to work, or should it just be a clean break? I'm not coming back. I'm going to write full time. I really didn't have any guarantees of much of anything. I knew I had this deal. I knew kind of when payments would be coming in and that type of thing for the contract. But other than that, I really didn't have much to go on.
You just jumped.
It was a jump. And I brought this book with me. I will hold this up.
Get Unrealistic.
Yes. Get Unrealistic.
Right.
Deblier Snell, who is the pastor of the University Church at my alma mater, the HBCU Oakwood University. Okay. So I happened to be reading this book over the summer, and it was slapping me upside the head. And it was directly addressing the issue that I was having, because it was like how unrealistic faith can unlock you from the boundaries of what life reality looks like. Wow. And so there prayed and cried, like people say that, literally prayed and cried over this decision. And in the end, I was nervous. I was scared. I got these kids. I'm single. I was divorced in 2020. So now I've got the responsibilities solely on me. So I'm thinking about insurance. I'm thinking about bills. I'm thinking about their needs. I don't know if I could do it. So I said, okay, I'll go back to work. This is the fear, I'll go back to work. Maybe I'll just go until December, and I'll just kind of stack as I go. And this will give me a chance to prepare better. Like I said, I'm a planner. I go to sign my contract with the school, and they're, oh yeah, you got an increase, like your salary went up. I'm like, He's like, uh-oh. What is, uh-oh.
Right.
Okay, so I sign the contract, I go back, my heart is not in it, and like I'm still wrestling, and I feel that heaviness because I know. Right. And so, I'm like, I want an experience where I truly depend on you, God. And not depend on what I know is coming, or depend on what I can finagle and get together. If I'm going to grow in my faith, I've got to step out on it. Right. And so I made it to September. I made it to the end of September, September 30th. So since September 30th, 2022, I have been writing full time, and God is good.
Wow.
So that's kind of how that happened.
That's amazing.
So wouldn't advise to do it that way unless you heard from God.
Right.
So, because I wouldn't have done it that way unless I was certain that he was calling me to do it.
So when September 30th came, you were like, okay, that's it. Well, you just gave them a notice, and
I gave my notice previously.
Okay.
I gave my 2-week notice, and I said that date was the end of the month.
Okay.
I was like, I'm gonna finish out the month, and here we go. But I will tell you this. Probably a few days after I put in my resignation, I had a classmate reach out, and she was in a position where she was looking for authors for some work for hire projects. And I mean, like, I was just like, okay, God, all right, thank you. You know, I needed little crumbs along the way to keep me going. And that was the first thing that he gave me. Like, you are going to be okay.
Wow.
School visits and all of that started to come calling. And now that I can do it, I can do it. So before, I'm like having to ask my principal, hey, can I do the Zoom in my office like during lunch and close the blinds and all of that?
Right.
And that type of thing. So, or taking days off. Now I have the freedom to where if a school wants a visit, I can swing it. So, and that's how it went.
That's amazing.
That's how it went.
So give us, we always want to do 5 tips that each author or, someone in the industry shares with our listeners. What are 5 things that you either want to share with our authors that have helped you or, get through certain things? So give us your 5 motivational tips or 5 things that you learned that helped you.
All right. I'm going to start with faith in God. I've said that and throughout the stories, and so that's strong for me. I know it won't be the same for everyone, and that's fine. But that's something that has powered me for sure through the times where there is uncertainty. Just having something to ground me through those moments, because they will come. I tell my kids, it's not if the storm comes, it's when the storm comes. I want you to be grounded. I want you to be able to withstand it. So I'd say that. Read as much as you can. I know that can be hard when you're trying to write, because that seems like the priority. But I think reading also unlocks creativity. And it teaches lessons that you don't even realize you're receiving just by reading a book. You're gaining so much. So I say read as much as possible. I say the connection piece is very meaningful, connection with other authors. And it doesn't happen a lot for me, but whenever it does, it's very meaningful. So like this right here, we've been trying for a long time, like hitting and missing. And writing is and can be a very isolating thing. It's just you, your notebook, or your computer. And I don't know if you're like me, but it's like, don't try to read it till it's done. Don't try to, I don't want to talk about it too much. I just want to get it done, then we talk. So I have not always been big on that community and connection with others. So I appreciate this very much. And I think it is meaningful. We talked about joining organizations that are meaningful and beneficial. So SCBWI is, I can't recommend it enough for those who are wanting to get started. Definitely do that. And just take advantage of those resources. Talk to people who have been or who are also going where you want to go. I think there is beauty in multiple advisors and multiple counselors, people who have traveled the road or who are walking that road with you. I think that helps too. Because a lot of times, where are you going to find, and I'm going to say this, where are you going to find a Black woman author? And if you want that specific connection, you really do have to look for it. And then once you make it, you got to hold on to it. Because in some cases, it doesn't matter. We're just all authors and that works. And in some cases, I need a sister. I need a sister to read this with me, or we can talk about this particular incident together. And so I would say that's important as well. I don't know what number I'm on.
That was 4. So
that's
one
4.
more.
One more. And whatever it is, if it's something that you're passionate about, plan for it. Plan for it. Don't put it off. And don't just, watch other people do it. Definitely gain inspiration from other people, but work your plan, put your plan in action as well. Set goals for yourself, because your passion, your dream is always worth it. So I will want to remind people of that. It's worth the work. dream big, wake up and work.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wake up and work.
Wake up and work.
I love it. I love it. So, well, thanks again. I appreciate you on our Girls Talk Books, where we inspire women of color, people in the diverse backgrounds to do those books and to have that authenticity.
Yeah.
That we need in our work.
Absolutely.
And so I admire you, and I'm so glad you're able to join me on.
The feeling is mutual. Oh. I admire you and what you're doing. And like I said, I heard your young lady speak, and I was just blown away. So please keep up the good work. It is needed.
Thank you. Yeah, so what Kelly is talking about is my Merge State Explorers nonprofit organization, where we help girls find their voice as travel writers. And we've had girls who were, afraid to talk in public. And now they're giving presentations. Yeah. They're representing our organization. They've traveled the world.
I was going to say that too. Might have been afraid to even travel.
Exactly.
And now being exposed to worlds beyond their own.
Exactly.
I think that is life-changing.
Exactly. And it's kind of like, books. When you open up the world to people, they're able to see things. They're able to see themselves in that.
Yes.
You can watch the Eiffel Tower on television, but if you're actually seeing it, I see myself there.
Yeah.
And it becomes a challenge for the girls. Like, now I want to see Stonehenge. I want to see Big Ben. And that's just like with being an author. You grew up having those stories read to you, and you can see yourself in that.
Yeah.
And then now in turn, you're able to give that back to other people.
That's it.
So I love it. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. So, well, thank you again.
It's been my pleasure.
And again, thank you for joining us on Girls Talk Books. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Are you an author with an amazing story to tell? Do you work in the publishing industry and have insight that can inspire and educate other writers? If so, we want you on Girls Talk Books. Or if you're an author looking to write your book, we can help with that too. For more information, visit girlstalkbooks.com. In the meantime, keep reading and keep writing.